My friends locked me in this bedrock prison to challenge me to break out of it, but the problem was that it seemed impossible to escape. It was built using cheats and so it was made almost completely out of bedrock, and there was only one way out of the prison. With my reputation on the line, I looked around. It was only the first puzzle and I was already very confused. I was completely surrounded in bedrock with an ice block below me, with what seemed to be like a massive fall. If I broke this ice in this version, no water would appear. That only happens if you melt it and I'll almost certainly die of fall damage. But there was no other way out apart from down. After inspecting the bedrock walls and determined there was no buttons, I was left with only one option. Somehow melt the ice. But with no torches or lava, it seemed impossible. It was then I realized that the shroom lights that were lighting up my prison were actually my solution. You see, to melt ice, you need a light source block next to it with 12 or higher light level. That means all these blocks are capable of melting ice, including the shroom lights, which emit a light level of 15. So I started mining the shroom lights. After the first one broke and fell into the void below, I realized the chances of me getting out of this prison were down to chance. I needed the block to break and fall towards me so I could pick it up, but after 3 blocks in a row broke and fell the wrong direction, I realized how much my friends had screwed me. But this was the only way. So I bit my tongue and broke the last block. Luckily it fell towards me and I was able to melt the ice to move to the next room. I swam down the water tower being careful not to accidentally fall and made my way to this dark bedrock box. It was extremely dark in here and the floor was completely covered in black carpet. I walked around looking for some clues and picked up any carpets just in case I needed them. Deciding that there was probably a hidden button somewhere, I inspected all the walls looking for a clue. Thinking that I maybe missed something, I went back up the water source and looked for something in my original room. Maybe something else was hidden in the funnel I jumped down, but there was nothing. After a while of just looking around, I finally spotted it. Rewind the video and let me know in the comments if you spotted it. Yes, that's right, there's a tiny lit up section of the wall. This light source must be coming from somewhere, so I broke all the carpets around the area and there it was, the entrance to the next room. I made sure to collect the sign and jumped in. In this room there was a redstone contraption which led me to a force tube with lava in the bottom. After looking around the room I briefly determined there was nothing there. The clue I needed must be down the hole. I could see there was lots of enchantment tables down there and a ledge I could land on, but I knew my friends wouldn't make it that easy. If I jumped, I'd definitely die. I kept going backwards and forwards to open the door and keep looking down at their enchantment tables to see if there was something I was missing. But then I realized the answer was closer to me than I thought. Under the pressure plates was a hidden chest, but getting to it wasn't going to be easy. I had to open the door and then open the chest without falling in. With multiple back and forths and close misses, I eventually managed to open up the chest. Inside was a spruce log, oak log, and a spruce plank. It was now the time to make the difficult decision on what I needed to craft to get down the tube. I first thought about making a crafting table with the spruce log on the left and then crafting something with the oak, but then I realized that this was a trap. The woods were specifically placed in this order into tricking me into using the spruce log to create the crafting table. But that would leave me with essentially one useless spruce plank. So instead I used the oak log to make the crafting table, and from there it was obvious. I needed to make a spruce boat and boat MLG clutch on the ledge. This wasn't going to be easy. I needed to place the boat, click on it, and land on the ledge before I fell in the lava. There was only 1 or 2 blocks in height difference between the ledge and my death. But after a few seconds of hesitation, I took the plunge. And I made it. But now I was left in a room seemingly just full of enchantment tables. My first thought was that there was obviously something hidden inside one of the enchantment tables, so I checked them all, but there was nothing. I then checked if there was a chest under the lava. Once again, nothing. Maybe something was hidden behind the enchantment tables, like a button I could press, but once again, nothing. But there it was. I finally noticed it. When the corners were lit slightly differently. That's because it wasn't just a 1x1 hole. It led to a completely different room. And now I had to get through to the other side. For any normal player, this would be a completely impossible task. But this wasn't my first time someone trapped me somewhere. So I instantly knew I had to get in my boat and get out of it, glitching me through the wall onto the next side. A new room, a new challenge. After a few seconds of me trying to get my boat back, I called it quits and decided to search the new room. There was a zombified piglin in the corner, which for some reason didn't seem hostile, and it wasn't attacking me either after I punched it. I tried right clicking it a few times, but nothing was working. You see, when this mob is in the nether, you can trade with it to get good loot, and one of those loots is a fire resistance potion, which is exactly what I needed to get through this lava wall. But my friends maybe didn't realize that after a few minutes of the piglin being in the overworld, it turns into a zombified piglin, which you can't trade with. Was I stuck here due to a mistake by my friends? Was this the end for me? No, of course not. There had to be another way. It was then I realized that there was one place I hadn't checked in this room. What was the piglin standing on? And you bet it was a brewing stand with an awkward potion inside of it. All I needed now was a magma cream, but it was nowhere to be found. It had to be in this room somewhere, but where? After searching around the room for a while, I decided to maybe see if I could go back and get into my boat again to check the last room. But I couldn't click on it. It then struck me. Look up. And there it was, a barrel containing the magma. After brewing my fire resistance potion, I headed through to the lava onto the next room. It was a parkour room. I'm not sure what my friends thought that this was a good idea. After a few attempts, I would surely make it. But after the first few jumps, there it was, the exit. But this last jump looked suspicious. It didn't even seem possible. Even if I placed my crafting table, there was definitely too big of a jump to make it. I of course couldn't call it quits, so I continued to retry the parkour. After a few jumps and 1 or 2 fails, I was on the last jump on 2.5 hearts. If I jumped, I'd surely miss and die, and be banned and humiliated by my friends. I couldn't let that happen. I needed to head back and think out my plan. But after missing one of the jumps, I was left on half a heart. No more room for mistakes. But after I headed back to the lava wall, I realised something. I've been using the ladders this whole time to restart. Why couldn't I just use them? The rule stated that I could use any blocks I could break in the prison. So there I was, placing the ladders to get out of the parkour section and into freedom. Nice try guys, but you have to try harder than that. Subscribe if you want to see what my friends do to me next.